Hello. In this video, I will do an ASVAB Math Knowledge Practice Exam 3. So let's begin the exam. So question 1 says, if in a class of students there are 8 more boys than girls, how many boys are there? So what we have to do is come up with an equation. And so what they're saying is in a class of 30 students, there are 8 more boys than girls. So what they're saying is the first statement says in a class of 30 students, so what they're saying is in a class there is a so in a class of 30 students there is a mixture of boys and girls, right? And then the other statement says there are 8 more boys than girls. So what that really saying is boys would be 8 more than girls, so that would be G plus 8. Okay, so we have two equations, equation 1 and equation 2. So what I'm going to do is substitute equation 2 back into equation 1. So you have two equations, b plus g equals 30, and then the second one is b equals g plus 8, right? Because there are 8 more boys than girls. So I'm going to substitute equation 2 back into equation 1, and what do we get? So plug this back into this. So that's going to be g plus 8 plus g equals 30. So from this equation, we could figure out how many girls there are, because now we could say g plus 1g is 2g plus 8 equals 30. Then subtract 8 from both sides. They get 2g equals to 30 minus 8, which is 22. Then divide this by 2, and you get 22 divided by 2 is 11. So you have 11 girls, right? But they're not asking you how many girls there are. They're asking how many boys. So what we're going to do is plug in girls and back into the second equation. So it's going to be 11 plus 8, which is 19. Okay, not too bad, right? Question 2 says, find the area of a triangle whose base is 4 inches less than its height. So if you want to draw an image, just fine. Imagine you have an area, a triangle. This would be your base, and this would be your height. You don't really need an image, but what you do need to know is the area of a triangle. So the area of a triangle is base times height over 2. Okay, so if they're saying the base is 4 inches less than the height, how can I express that? How can I express B? It says a base is 4 inches less than its height. So that's really saying h minus 4, right? 4 inches less means subtraction 4, whose base is that? 4 inches than its height. So my base is h minus 4. My h is just h because they don't give us anything. Um, so find the area. So you just put it back into this formula. So my base is h minus 4 times h all over 2. So h times h is h squared. Negative 4 times h is negative 4h, and then all over 2. So be careful. This is all over 2. So when I did this problem, there is a typo. They said it's really d, but it's not really d because um, this 1/2, if you want, you can factor out that 1/2, right? So it would be h squared minus 4h. Or what you could do is divide each term by 1/2. So this is also the same thing as 1/2 h squared, and then negative 4h over 2 is also negative 2h. So really, it's actually this one. This is the correct answer. This was a typo, so be careful when you're doing these problems. Okay. Question three says the cube of seven. Okay. So they're not saying the cube root of seven. They're saying the cube of seven. What does the cube of seven mean? It literally means seven cubed, right? And seven cubed is the same thing as seven times seven times seven. Well, seven times seven is 49, times by another seven, which is I think it's 343. I mean 147. The cube. Wait, did I do that right? The cube of seven. Yeah, seven cubed. Oh, I made a mistake. Yeah, that's right. Seven cubed is seven to the third, and then seven times seven is 49. And so by seven, that's 343. Yeah. Right. So letter C. Okay. What about this one? Evaluate 2x cubed minus 3y squared plus z if x equals 2, y equals -1, and z equals 3. So you just have to plug it in and then kind of do your order of operation, pandas. So it's 2, and then x is 2 cubed minus 3, and then y is -1 square plus z, which is 3. Okay, so you have to do, you're probably thinking, what do I do first? Well, this is what helps, pandas. So do we have a parentheses? Yes, but, I mean, sorry. We do have a parentheses, but there's nothing more you can do in the parentheses, so you don't have to worry about that. Do we have an exponent? Yes, we have 2. So do the exponents first, and then bring down, you have it done. So what is 2 cubed? 2, 4, 8. What is -1 square? +1 plus 3. Okay, put it all together. Okay, wait. So we did the exponents, then we have to do the multiplication. We do have 2 multiplication. So what's 2 times 8? 16. What's -3 times 1? -3. And then we don't have a division. We have both an addition and subtraction, so that you know the rule. If you have both addition and subtraction, you must go from left to right, or let's do it all at once. So 16 minus 3 is 13, plus 3, just 16. Great, not too bad. Okay, this one, what is the area of the shaded region below in square centimeters? So in square centimeters, so there's no conversion, but how do we find the area of this gray area? So do you see two shapes? I do. I see a rectangle and a circle. So to find the area of the gray area or the shaded area, you subtract the area of those two shapes. So basically they're saying subtract the area of a rectangle because you see a rectangle, right? Minus, and then the other shape I see is this circle. So minus the area of the circle. Okay. So area of rectangle is length times width. So that is 12 by 6. So what's 12 by 6? 12 times 6 is 72. Oh, so yeah, without a calculator, yep, 72. Now, what is the area of a circle? So the area of a circle is going to be pi r squared. So it's going to be pi, and then my radius is already given as 2. So that would be 4 pi. So what's 72 minus 4 pi? Now, if you look at all the choices, there's no pi icon. So what they did was, what you could do is replace, because you can't use a calculator, you could replace pi with 3.14, right? So that would be 4 times 3.14. And we know that 3.14 is going to be 16, 5, 4 times 3 is 12. And then how many decimals? 2. So that's 12.56. So this is 12.56 and then 72. So 72 minus 12.56 is, or you say 72 minus 12.56. So how many times goes, 10 goes in 6 is, or 10 minus 6 is 79, 10, that's 4. This is 9, 9 minus 5 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 4. And then carry the 1. So that is going to be 59, 59.44. So letter D. Okay. So on this one, you just need to find, you need to know the area of the two shapes, the area of a rectangle and the area of a circle, and then subtract that, and you get the area of the shaded region. Okay. Okay. Number 6 says the product of two number is 144. If one of the number is 12, what is the other? Um, you probably could say it's already 12 because 12 times 12 is 144. But what they're really saying is, when you say the product of two numbers, it's really saying x times y, right? Equals to 144. And they're saying that if one of the numbers is 12, so let's pretend y is 12. And you need to figure out the other number, this x. So what you're going to do is divide both sides by 12. 144 divided by 12 is 12. So it's C. Okay, so question 7, the cube root of 1,000. So you can write the cube root as two ways. You can write it as the cube root, little 3 here, 1,000, or you can also say 10 to the 1/3. So what is the cube root of 1,000? So you could make the factor tree if you want, but it is a perfect cube. So what I mean is, can you think of a number times itself 3 times that'll give you 1,000? Exactly 1,000? Yes. 10, right? 10 times 10 times 10 is 1,000. If you want to write, you could also do the factor tree if you want. What two numbers multiply 1,000? I don't know, 100 times 10. And then collect your prime numbers. 10 is not prime. 10 can be broken down as 5 and 2. 100 is not prime. It can be broken down as 10 and 10. And then 10 can be broken down as 5 and 2. And then 10 can be broken down as 5 and 2. So what you do is this little 3 represents of your prime numbers, circle pairs of 3. So I see a pair of 3, so 5, 5, and 5. That just becomes 5. Put it outside. And then 2 and 2 and 2. That just becomes 2 with no remainders. So that's how I get 10. Okay. Okay. The product of y and 4 less than y is. And when you say I hear the word product, I automatically mean multiplication. So I could represent two parentheses. That means multiplication. So the product of y, so that's just y, and 4 less than y. So that's really, how do I represent 4 less than y? It's the same thing as y minus 4. Oh, the product of cube y. So I got that wrong. The product of cube y, how do you represent cube of y? Y cubed, right? And then 4 less than y is the same thing as y minus 4. It'd be the first one. Okay, carpeting costs $8 per square yard. $8 per square yard? What it would cost to carpet a room that is 12 feet by 15 feet wide. So yeah, if you want to draw an image, here you have. Let's pretend you have a room that's 12 feet by 15 feet. And it costs $8 per square yard. So that's a big hint that you have to do some kind of conversion because if this is $8 per square yard, might as well we have to convert this feet into yard. So we know that the area of a rectangle is length times width, right? Now let's convert each into yards. So let's start with 15 feet. So how do we do this? So put feet on the bottom and yard on the top because you want to get the feet gone. And then put a 1 on your 15. So what is the relationship between yard and feet? So the relationship between yard and feet is, I forget. Oh, we know that 1 yard is 3 feet. So that's something you need to know. For 1 yard, there's exactly 3 feet. And then when you're multiplying fractions, you multiply across. So 15 times 1 is 15. And then 1 times 3 is 3. So 15 divided by 3 is 5. So this is really 5 yards. Now do the same thing with 12 feet. So 12 feet times feet on the bottom and yards on the top. We know that 1 yard, there's exactly 3 feet. And then there's a little 1, multiply across. So 12 times 1 is 12. 1 times 3 is 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So it's 4 yards. Okay. So the area in yards would be 4 by 5, which is 20 yards squared. And then all we got to do is, it says it's $8 per square yard. So all you got to do is multiply this by 8. So 8 times 2 is 60. So that is 160. Okay, so that's the total cost to carpet this room. Okay, so this is an interesting one. It's a bit confusing at first, but if you draw an image, like, okay, so question 10 says, if the radius of a square is increased by 50%, the area is increased by how much? So if you want, you're gonna need to draw a circle, and then here you have a radius, right? Now let's just randomly pick a number. Let's just randomly pick a radius. So let's plug in values. So let's pretend this circle has a radius of 2, right? And then they're talking about area. So what is the area of a circle? It is pi r squared. That's pi, and then my radius is 2, so that's 2 squared. And then 2 squared is 4, and then 4 pi. Okay. Now imagine this circle is increased by 50%. What would be the new area and what would be the radius? So let's find the new radius. So we gotta do 50% of 2, because our original radius was 2, right? So 50% of 2 would be 0.50 times it by 2, which I believe it's 1, right? 0.50. Yes. So our new radius is growth, which increased by 50% is going to be 3, right? So our old radius was 2. Now our new radius is 3 because it's increased by 50%. What would be my new area? So my new area will be pi r squared. So my new radius is 3 squared. So that is going to be 3 squared is 9 pi. Now, what you would need to do is use this formula. So you probably remember it's new minus old over old times by 100. So this will give us your percentage increase. So my new area was 9 pi minus my old area was 4 pi divided by my old area, which is 4 pi. So what's 9 pi minus 4 pi? 2, 3, 4, 5 pi over 4 pi. The pi cancels, and then you have 5/4, which is, what is 5 divided by 4? It is, let's see, 1 dot, and down to 0, 2, and minus is 2, bring down to 0, 1.25. But you don't see our answer because we have to times it by 100. So what's 1.25 times by 100? Just move the area decimal place 2 places to the right. And I get 125%. Okay. So yeah, I just picked a value for the radius and I need to know the area of a circle and then found my new area with the new radius. And then I use the formula new minus old over old times it by 100. Okay, here's another good one. So number 11 says, what is the probability of rolling the sum of 7 using 2 dice? So what they're saying is you're throwing 2 dice, and then we know that each dice has exactly 6 sides, right? If you don't know, you could look that up, but each dice does have 6 sides. So what is the probability of it rolling with a sum of 7? So let's, yeah, we know that each dice, anyways, has 6 faces. Okay. So what you're going to do is list all the pairs that sum up to 7. Okay. So one pair would be like the first dice could roll to 1, and then the other dice could roll to 6 because we can't go above 6, right? Because there's only 6 dice. Because right, that gives you 7. Another pair could be 2 and 5, and then 3 and 4, 4 and 3, 5 and 2, and 6 and 1, right? So what we have is we have 6 pairs that result in the sum of 7. So what is the probability? So probability is the number of favorable outcomes divided by the total number of outcomes. Okay. So the total on the bottom, we're throwing 2 dice. So each dice has 6. So you have a total of 36, right? And then the number of favorable outcomes. So we said that we had 6 pairs that results to a sum of 7. So it's going to be 7 on the top. And then can this be reduced? Whoops, not 7. We said we had a pair of 6 that adds up to 7. Sorry. So we have 6 out of 36, which can be reduced by 6, and that gives you 1/6. Okay, so that would be letter A. So yeah, that was a little tricky one. That was a little bit difficult one. Question 8, 12. Oops. So question 12 says, which mathematical statement best represents the following? 8 more than a number is 10. Okay, that's not too bad. 8 more, so that's plus 8. More than a number, so it could be like x, so in our case, n is equal to 10. So really, it's just n plus 8 equals 10. So that would be, oh, is it C or D? C, 8 more. I feel like C and D are the same. What's the difference between C and D? 8, 8 more than, yeah, I think it's D because, I mean, I technically C is right. Oh, that's tricky, right? Technically C is right. 8 more than numbers. I mean, this because of the commutative property, this is the same thing as n plus 8, but I feel like this is the correct one. I don't know why, but I just feel like it's letter D. Okay, question 13. If 4x plus 5 equals 7x minus 1, find x. So you have 4x plus 5 equals to 7x minus 1, right? So you want to solve for x. So what I would do is get all the x's on one side. First, I would subtract 4x on both sides. So I get 5 equals, and then 7x minus 4x is 5, 6, 3x. Then what I would do next is get all the constant on one side. So maybe it's best to move that negative one to the left by adding 1 to both sides. I get 6 equals 3x. And then the last thing to do is solve for x. So I just have to get rid of this 3. So this is multiplication. So the opposite of multiplication is divide. Do not do not subtract 3 because you can't do that. If you're going to subtract, you're going to subtract the x, and that would get rid of the x. So that's why we don't do that. So you get 6 divided by 3, which is 2. Okay. Okay. Factor. So what we're going to do is figure out your factoring method. So we have 3x squared minus 6xy plus 2xy minus 4y squared. So I noticed more specifically, this has 4 terms, right? So when you have 4 terms, you can use the technique called grouping by factoring. Okay, so this only works if you have 4 terms. If you have anything more or anything less, it will not work. So what I would do for grouping is split into 2 parts. Here's your first part. Here's your second part. So on the first part, we have 3x squared minus 6xy. What can we factor out? Well, do they have y's? No, this 3x squared does not have y, so we can't take out y. But can we take out x's? Yes, this has 2x's, this has 1x. So the largest amount of x you can take out is 1x. Any constant, so our constant is 3 and 6. Can you think of a number that they're both divisible by and the largest? So they're both divisible by 3 and we can't go any larger, right? Then because we can't change this problem, what do we have to multiply? 3x to get 3x squared. You're going to need an x, and then you're going to need a minus 2y, right? Now do the second term. 2xy minus 4y squared. I see. We could take out a y because they both have y's. We can't take out any x because this doesn't have an x. And then between the constant 2 and 4, you can take out a 2. So that's going to be 2x minus 2y. Okay, so this is a big clue grouping by factoring works. Do you see the repeat? I do. I see a repeat of x minus 2y and x minus 2y. So that's how you know grouping by factoring works. If you don't see a repeat, you might have to adjust it or it just doesn't work. So we just write out the repeat once and then bring down your leftover. So our leftover is 3x plus 2y. Okay, so that is going to be letter B. I'm gonna run out of time, but a chain is made by linking rings that are 1.5 inches in diameter. How many feet long is a chain is made from 80 rings? So imagine you have a chain, a ring chain, and then the radius is, oh, not radius, but diameter is 1.5 inches. What you would do is, what would you do is, you're going to multiply the radius by 80 because there's 80, right? So what's 80 times 1.5? It is 120. Okay. Okay. So it timed out, but I'm gonna still finish this one. I hate when this happens, but yeah, we did that one. We did that one. Mm, Wait, it was no, we did that one. Here we are. So a chain is made by linking rings that are 1.5 inches in diameter. How many feet long is a chain made from 80 rings? So imagine you have this chain and it's in rings and then the diameter is 1.5. So to find the total horizontal length, right, you just multiply 80 by 1.5, which is 120, right? 80 times 1.5, 5 times 0 is 0, 8 times 5 is 40, placeholder, 1 times 0 is 0, 8 times 1 is 8, 0, 0, 8 plus 4 is 9, 10, 11, 12. Bring down the one decimal, so that's 120. So then what you're going to do is you're going to divide 120 inches by 12 inches per foot. So be careful. 12 inches per foot is like saying 12 inches over foot because that'll give us your feet. Here, I'll show you. So it's like a complex fraction. This is your numerator, and then 12 inches by foot is your denominator. So it's like saying 12 over 1 divided by 12 inches over foot. Then you just cross multiply. So 1 times 12 is 12. And then, whoops, this is, sorry, 120. So 120 times 1 is 120, and then 1 times 12 is 12. Let's see. And then you're left with foot or feet. So what's 120 divided by 10? I mean, divided by 12 is 10 foot. Okay, so your total be 10 feet. Okay, and then we did the rest already, so I'm not going to do those ones. So that ends up for this practice exam.